The father of my oldest child is being extradited. My oldest child is losing her father because of Trump's immigration policies. Do I feel like I made a mistake? Possibly.
Huh?
Possibly.
Come on now, dog.
Possibly.
Come on, man.
Ask me again when I'm not so emotional. Did she just say possibly?
They voted for Trump and were supportive of his promise to enact mass deportations, but they never expected for someone like their son to get caught up in that.
Él dijo que iba a ir por todos los delincuentes que entraron ilegal.
Y lo dijo muy claro.
Lo dijo bien claro.
Nope. I gotta wave you off again. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. I'm Reese Waters, and this is Street Politics. Don't forget to like the video. Now, here I am enjoying Francesca Ramsey's brand new edition of The Leopards Ate My Face, now with the mariachi band. I just was getting into the vibe. I hadn't even gotten to the chorus yet, and I see she done found reason to use it already.
Masivo lo que hizo. Es un mentiroso y está mucha gente enojada, ¿no? No solo inmigrantes. Gente que vive aquí, que tiene generaciones y generaciones.
Sí.
Nunca pensé que los zapatos me comerían la cara. No, nunca pensé le di la espalda a los míos y pensé que todo iría bien. Nunca pensé que los leopardos me comerían la cara.
All right, let's dig in.
Deborah and Martin are immigrants from Argentina that become US citizens. Their son, Agustin, he's a green card holder, but he's currently in detention at the ICE Stewart Detention Center. He's detained because he has a misdemeanor on his record. They thought the case was closed and that their son was kind of done with that chapter in his life, but it seems like that has come back to haunt him. And so the parents are trying to process this, they're in shock, and this shock they are feeling is that these are two Trump voters.
Okay, so if I got this clear, you're both immigrants. You're both immigrants. Your son is a green card holder with charges, albeit a misdemeanor, but so that means you had to see all of the deportation fever pointed at immigrants, as well as the characterization of immigrants as criminals. And you voted that way as immigrants with a son with charges.
Mi esposa y yo votamos a Trump. Nos sentimos un poco también como betrayed o engañados.
Engañados.
Nope. We're not doing that. Deceived? Look, far be it for me to ever defend Donald Trump for any reason. Like, I do not like being in this position. Nah, wasn't no deception there. No, it wasn't. No, he said that. They even know it outside. They even know it outside. That is exactly what he is nothing. If I know you agree, I know they not feeling you. They not feeling you. I can tell you that right now. I would also like to add, as time has gone on, I have seen reason to defend Trump's hair choices, just because I'm beginning to consult some of the same options.
We are in El Refugio. It's a hospitality house near the border with Alabama, right outside one of the biggest immigration detention centers in the country. A lot of people drive from very far away to come here and need a place to stay. There's free meals. It's just a lending hand for families of detainees.
Now, I just wanted to point something out. So this immigration center here is in Georgia, and we're going to get to the fact that he was picked up in California. But they're in Georgia visiting him. We've seen other detainees, including some of the protesters that were picked up, move to Louisiana. Now, it is interesting that these detainment centers are in the deep South. That must be the reinvention of the Southern heart that Tim Scott was talking about. That must be it must be the Southern hospitality. Why that's happening.
Nosotros nos levantamos a las 8 de la mañana para hacer la cita para ver a nuestro hijo.
Él es residente legal, nosotros somos ciudadanos.
Él se crió, vivió acá siempre.
Él fue desde el pre-K hasta el college en Florida.
Estos son mis nietos, sus hijos.
Tuvo un incidente que terminó siendo un misdemeanor. Cumplió con todos los requisitos al pie de la letra, entonces se terminó el caso, se cerró, se dismissed. Lo detuvieron en el aeropuerto de LA, lo mandaron a un county jail en North Carolina por 3 días y luego lo movieron aquí a donde estamos ahora.
Now, just so we're clear, this man was picked up at an LA airport and transferred to North Carolina. As he mentioned, he had lived his entire life here, and he was a legal resident. Now, let me first say that I am very much opposed to what befall their son. I was opposed in November with the knowledge that these things could occur. But I very much am opposed to what befell their son. Now, we understood not only before the election that this is something that could occur, but we also understood that this was something that was probably going to occur once we saw, I don't know, the Lake and Riley Act pass, which gave them the freedom to criminalize people using racial profiling without any amount of due process. And that, again, was something they telegraphed prior to the election. Now, if you want to look at what's happening today, I just posted a video about Jasmine Crockett and the Democrats airing out the GOP for trying to preserve Trump's ability to deport American citizens. So this is not a bug. This is very much a feature. And it is a feature that they publicized. Like, this was a feature that was on the box when they were selling you Trump Vance 2024. It was on the box. It was on all sides.
They voted for Trump and were supportive of his promise to enact mass deportations, but they never expected for someone like their son to get caught up in that.
Él dijo que iba a ir por todos los delincuentes que entraron ilegal.
Y lo dijo muy claro.
Lo dijo bien claro.
Nope. I gotta wave you off again. I gotta wave you off again. He talking about the people that came here illegally. What did J.D. Vance say when he was challenged on the Haitians being here legally? He challenged the law. He challenged the law that allowed them to be here legally. So what that tells me is their idea of legals and illegals is fluid. It's basically just what they decide. You know, it's kind of like when my little kids ask me for permission to get a snack before bed. It's basically how has my day been? If I had a good day, sure. If I had a bad day, I done told you that was all that was going to be served tonight. That is, you put your future, your spouse's future, and the future of your child in the hands of the whims of the Trump administration. And he told you that by virtue of how they treated the Haitians. But you know, those dog-eating Haitians, though, you know what I mean? They gotta go.
Pero pasamos de tener una puerta abierta completamente a cerrarla con 10 cerrojos.
Es un engaño masivo lo que hizo. Es un mentiroso. Está mucha gente enojada. Y no solo inmigrantes.
Now, I'm going to split the difference with you here. Because you're not wrong. You are not wrong. This is the same man who just sat up in the Oval Office and said we don't do a whole lot of business with Canada.
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint.
Well, respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes they've made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, he did it right in front of the newly elected leader of Canada. Like, he was just going to sit there and be like, I'm not from here. We don't do this level of disinformation and lying. I don't even know how to speak this language. So you're not wrong. Just here. I don't, this ain't really, not here. No, he told you all about this.
Gente que vive aquí, que tiene generaciones y generaciones de estar en este país.
He's one of many facing Trump's new hardline stance against green card holders, so targeting them for detention and deportation over past criminal convictions, even if they were minor offenses. We don't know how the story ends. The family said that it's very possible that it could end with Agustin being deported back to Argentina, a place he left when he was 2 years old.
Now, it is quite ironic that he ended that with 2 years old.
A federal judge wants the Trump administration to explain why a 2-year-old U.S. citizen was deported to Honduras with her mother and older sister. Lawyers for the girl say that she, her mother, and her 11-year-old sister were detained when they showed up at an ICE office in New Orleans Thursday for a routine appointment. When the girl's legal custodian, who is a U.S. citizen, went to federal court seeking their release, administration lawyers said the mother wanted her daughters to go with her. Judge Terry Doherty asked to speak with the mother about her wishes, but was told they had already been released in Honduras. Doherty, who's a Trump appointee, ordered a hearing in 3 weeks in the interest of dispelling our strong suspicion that the government just deported a U.S. citizen with no meaningful process.
And by the way, this was another video that they had posted just next to this one.
We're heading to the Florida border. We're meeting a 20-year-old called Juan Carlos, who was born in Georgia, making him a U.S. citizen, but he was detained when he traveled down to Florida for a construction gig. He was arrested, and at ICE's request, he was being held in a local county jail until they came to pick him up, to process him for deportation, essentially. His mom went down to Florida with his documents, his birth certificate, his social security card, and even though a local judge recognized that he was indeed a citizen, she said that she didn't have the authority to free Juan Carlos. He ended up spending over 30 hours in jail until ICE acknowledged that as a U.S. citizen, he should never be in the position he was in. The impact of this administration's immigration policies are being felt much more widely than at least these folks expected.
Now, let me say this. It very much saddens me what has befallen these people that are having their rights infringed upon. But my smoke is for the people that put this administration in a position to infringe not only on their rights, but also on my rights, and also on your own rights, because you should have known better. It is those people that I have all of the smoke for.
There's not even a word to describe what I think about you Latinos for Trump. There's no, because you are disgraceful beyond measure. And to get a pat on the head that you didn't even get. You're nothing more than a whore for a white man. And that's, I'm talking to men and women alike.
And let me also say too, because one of the things that I've come back around to when I'm having these kinds of conversations is I'm holding people responsible for the information that I have, right? And that's not necessarily fair. I don't know what your information space looks like. I don't know what your echo chamber sounds like. I don't know what information you are consuming and where you are consuming it from. That being said, I would assume that the information that you consume around this issue would be greater than the information that I consume around this issue, being as how it's so much more relevant to you. It's like me knowing more about the human body than my physician. It would be problematic. It would be problematic. I don't know why I would be paying this man to operate on me, but then again, we are letting this man like pass executive orders and make laws, and he don't even know like the basic core tenet documents of the founding of the country. So
You have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Is that what is it? Was Trump your model? Was that what it is? You're just trying to move around with a Trump basic understanding of life? Is that what's going on? I need somebody to make sense of this. Hey, get Khalif Rhodes. Y'all know how much I love Khalif Rhodes, Queen City News. Yeah, get him to make sense of this.
A North Carolina man is at risk of being deported back to a country that he has not seen since he was a toddler. Augustin Gentile was targeted due to a 2020 misdemeanor, and the case was eventually closed in 2023. However, 3 months ago, after a trip abroad, Gentile returned to the U.S. only to have his green card and passport confiscated. So he was ordered to report to Customs and Border Protection in Raleigh last month. Gentile now was born in Argentina. His family moved to the U.S. in the mid-90s. His parents, who voted for President Donald Trump last November, say they feel betrayed by the administration. Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes joining us now. A lot to take in with this. Khalif, just your thoughts.
I mean, sometimes you get in situations that you think folks are, that don't apply to you, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is kind of like a buyer's remorse with the parents. I watched the video with them talk about it, and this is what you could see it in their eyes, the frustration. You could see how they were saying, well, wow, this isn't what I anticipated. When they were talking about immigration, I was assuming they were talking about people that were coming here illegally, not people that went through the legal process to bring people up to speed. Their son, even though he was born in another country, he was a green card holder. That means a legal permanent resident has went through the legal process to be in this country. And so typically you would think that's the type of people, if we're saying we need immigration reform, that we're not talking about. But what we are seeing is that it's not limited to people only committing crimes. It's some folks that are getting swooped up in this entire immigration bucket. And that's what I've talked about a number of times, that if we're saying that we want to ensure that we've got tighter immigration policies and tighter immigration rules and tighter immigration regulations, we're throwing all people that are coming here into one large bucket.
Yeah, Khalif, I got to object to you, player. The Ukrainians not in that bucket. Yeah, I don't think the South Africans in that bucket either.
Welcome to the United States of America. Thank you, sir. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free.
It's them versus us, as opposed to some folks are coming here for different reasons in different avenues. And if you've come here illegally, I think there's a mechanism to deal with that. But if you've come here and you went through the process, I think there's also a mechanism to deal with that as well.
Now, let's also talk about the irony, because there's been a lot of sentiment that I've shown here on this platform of people who went through the legal process who are upset and angry with people circumventing that process. Let's talk about the irony of that meaning absolutely nothing. To quote myself from when I was here and I did that video, you sat there and watched all of the anti-immigrant rhetoric. You sat there and watched everything that they said about mass deportation, them relaxing laws of who's here legally and who's not, and whether or not you get due process and how quickly they can move against you, and the mechanisms in which they can surveil. You saw all of that and just decided, you know what, my anger, because they butt the line. If I gotta go, I gotta go.
All right, so what's the process of a green card holder getting deported?
Well, typically it's for aggravated type of events like violent crimes, you know, like a rape or murder or something like that. Or, I mean, the easiest term that they use is a crime of moral turpitude. These are crimes that are just devious in nature. And so you're going to say, okay, this person, we don't want them in our country because the nature of their charge is so horrific that they don't even deserve the right to be here. But even in those situations, you still would have a process. You would still have to have a hearing. You still have to have a case. You'd have to go before an immigration judge, and they'd have to determine that now your immigration status here is going to be terminated. It's not just something that can be done with a swipe of a pen. There is a legal process, something called due process, even for these folks, equal to the due process that you and I would have as being U.S. citizens.
Right. So right now, what we do know is President Donald Trump did campaign on the commitment to deport undocumented immigrants who committed crimes. That was kind of the big focus there. So is the deportation strategy changing that we're seeing? Or legally, is there anything that somebody can do?
I mean, I think it has changed a number of times. I mean, if you could look at ICE's own page on their website, it says that typically we are seeking to go after folks and deport them and go through the process for folks that are convicted of charges. But what we've seen most recently, even here in Mecklenburg County, we've seen folks that are not convicted of crimes, but just charged with a crime. And ICE is attempting and ultimately detaining those individuals.
Which, by the way, was all laid out in the freedom they afforded themselves with the Lake and Riley Act. I recall AOC talking all about that, the freedom of just being able to charge people with crimes. And then as far as things changing with regards to their approach to immigration, yeah, it changes every time they line step, because they are nothing if not habitual line steppers. It changes every time they line step and they're not checked for the line stepping. They get more aggressive and the net gets wider. That's why it keeps changing. And thanks, Supreme Court. Thanks for that.
And all of the directions from ICE are coming from the top. All things rise and falls with leadership. So their directives are coming from the president. And so the directives, I think, have changed, where now it's just trying to get anyone that's charged with a crime, where before in the past with the Trump administration, on the first administration, and with other administrations, it's been convictions of crime would be the triggering effect for folks. I mean, but you're not even limited to people being charged with crimes. You're even with people that are participating in protests. We're seeing the mass sweeping and grabbing up of folks on college campuses. And so the process has changed significantly of who they're going after. And it is different than what he campaigned on, which was going after criminals.
Now, that's true to an extent. They did campaign on going after criminals, but then they also gave themselves the freedom to determine who is and who isn't a criminal. So it becomes a bit of a chicken or the egg thing there. And then you have to ask yourself, how trustworthy do you find him and his administration to be, to abide by their word? That's tough. How trustworthy would I find Trump to be? How many lawsuits? Has he ever been sued before? Huh? Has he ever had a company go under? Has he ever gone bankrupt? Is he faithfully married? Like, these are all things that I would have to consult and ask. I don't know the answer to any of those questions. I don't know. I don't know. But that is what you would have to ask yourself if you are putting your freedom on the craps table and banking on Donald Trump's word. But here y'all go. I voted for Trump and it cost me immensely. 16 years ago, I met a boy. We were in high school. He became my first love, my first boyfriend, and the father of my first child. He was many things, but at the top of the list was a superb father. That man would go to the ends of the earth to look for the last pencil, and that's what I told him our daughter needed. He wasn't just the father of my child. He became my bestest friend. He was my family. His biggest fault, he wasn't legal. Despite being here before he could even walk, despite not having any criminal record, despite making multiple trips to DC as an adult to acquire the paperwork to be here the right way, papers his mother should have taken the responsibility to get for him when he was just a child, despite hiring immigration lawyers, the father of my oldest child is being extradited. My oldest child is losing her father because of Trump's immigration policies. Do I feel like I made a mistake? Possibly.
Huh?
Possibly.
Come on now, dog.
Possibly.
Come on, man.
Ask me again when I'm not so emotional. Did she just say possibly? She said possibly. While she's in an emotional state, she said possibly. Like if we were in an argument, I don't want to say nothing I might regret, but I possibly might be out of here. That was what you gave us? What I do know is it has cost me and my oldest daughter greatly. I'm in a very dark place right now, reeling from this. I didn't post this for sympathy, but y'all need to know it's not just bad people with a criminal record being deported. These people are fathers, providers, head of household. The enemy wins by destroying the family unit with this policy. And this is where it's going to get controversial. The past few days, as I've pleaded, begged, absolutely bawled my eyes out to the Lord to reveal to me the benefit in this, He told me one thing. Now, I'm presuming that this relationship that you have with the Lord isn't new. So He was also the one that directed you towards the adulterer with the criminal record and the Access Hollywood tape. Like that was where He told you Elon Musk was the My hand isn't in this, daughter. When the heavenlies are at war, there are going to be casualties. This is that. And here is where I'm going to give y'all something to argue about. Oh, so this must be like that short-term pain that Trump was talking about. Short-term pain? Yeah, she's absorbing this as short-term pain. Kind of like the tariffs. Yeah, the kind of stuff he told you wasn't going to happen. But now it's just short-term pain. You know, he's like, he'll be home before Christmas. That's going to be lighter because you can't afford no gifts. Matter of fact, now as it'll be lighter, he won't even miss it as much. I don't believe this immigration policy is in the will of the Lord. I don't believe in my heart that this is something Jesus would celebrate were He here. Now, you may want to say He is the exception and not the norm, Sarah, but He was everything to me and my daughter. And even though Him and I together have overcome generational and family traumas so our child didn't have to walk through them, the enemy has still won here. That's not something I'm ever going to celebrate, ever. So if you want to come post a comment about how the policies are necessary or biblical, don't do it on my wall. Seriously, don't. And if you've made it this far, please pray for us because my daughter and I are beside ourselves with grief. It's hard to go through the days. Now here's why I'm troubled, and this maybe should have been a troubled waters. You told me this immigration policy is not the will of the Lord. The same immigration policy that He posted in great detail prior to the election before you marching up there and voting red. But when asked if you made a mistake voting for what you admit is not the will of the Lord, you say possibly.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
I need to know what Lord she talking about. Now, I need to know what Lord she. It sounds like Lord Orange. That's what it sounds like.
You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give us a like and a share if you are so inclined. And I know a number of you guys are not subscribed. And I know that because it tells me. I can go right there and it tells me how many are not subscribed. And I feel like if I'm subscribed to magazines in 2025, which was not intentional, I don't know why they be showing up to my house, but I am subscribed to magazines in 2025. I invite you to subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing. All you got to do is hit the button.
I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
And I want to give a special shout out to all the members who joined our last members live. It was a bit impromptu last minute, but y'all showed up and showed out. But then the early 90s though, the early 90s, what you want to do with rayon? What you want to do with rayon party shirts and hammer pants? And if you want to join the fun, there is a link to membership in the description box to all the videos where you'll see options for shallow water and deep water and troubled water. You also have further options If you would like to get those benefits, they are also available in our newly launched Patreon, where you'll see Deep Water and Troubled Water, which offers all the same benefits of membership here on YouTube, but also includes the newsletter, Wednesday Waters, which goes out once a week, as well as our community chats. And let me say, I had no idea how much y'all were into gardening till I got on those community chats. It's basically like a premier chat that never ends. You can sign up for that at patreon.com/Reese Waters. And last but not least, I want to show some love, as I've done the last few weeks, starting with Dank and then Deshauna and City Dawn, to my girl Roberta, who sent me this photo of her and her crispy, discouraged, depleted, but never defeated t-shirt, which I thought was a message that probably described how I came into this new Trump administration.
God, if you listen, hell, I can't take it no more.
And yet we soldier on. You can catch that as well as a lot more other options of merch available on my website, reesewaters.com. But I gotta thank Roberta as well as all of you for showing so much love to the channel.